Hi, my name is Brian Natter and welcome to BigCommerce, learning the basics of HTML and CSS. Today we're going to be learning how to build your own panel and add a div to the left column of your site. So we're going to be working within this div, which has a class of left and layout column 1. Let's go take a look at our site and see where that is. So we're going to be working within this panel here, and we're going to add some content down here. Maybe we'll do an image. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is find out the width of my left column here. So I'm going to use Firebug, and I can also do this in the CSS and just find out, but I'm just going to work within this. So the width of this column is 180. So we're going to be working within 180 pixels. I'm going to, at first, just create a panel down here. And I can call this panel anything I want. I just have to make sure I keep the same standards with the %, and I'm going to call this Big C Tutorial. And as long as I have the %, capital P with the panel, dot, whatever I want to name it, %, this will now put in my panel, but we still have to create it. So we'll save this. And now we're going to have to upload a HTML file to our directory in our templates panel folder. And we're going to have to call that HTML file exactly what this is called. So I'm going to open up an HTML editor, and you can use a Notepad. I like Notepad++, or you can use Dreamweaver. There's plenty of HTML editors out there that you can use. I'm in Notepad++, and I have to create a file named bigctutorial.html. And we'll start this out with an opening div, and we'll close this div off. And I'm just going to put a class in here, an empty class. And that's all we need to do for now, and we need to save this out. I'll save it to my desktop, and we'll save this the same way that we wrote this in our HTML editor in BigCommerce with the capitals, and we'll save it as .html file. So there we go. That's all we need to do. So now I'm going to FTP this up to the server. If you haven't done FTP before, in your admin panel under design, you'll be able to see your FTP. And if you need more information, there's plenty of documentation within BigCommerce to teach you how to log into your FTP. I'm using FileZilla as an FTP client, and on the left here are my files on my client's computer, and on the right side here are the files on the BigCommerce server. So I'm just going to navigate. If I do last modified, here is my BigCommerce tutorial.html file, and I'm going to go into templates here and this panel directory, and all I have to do is drag and drop this into the panels. Now I also created a file for an image, so I'm going to go into here, and I'm just going to grab my image that I created and upload this to NDX image, and that's it. Our files are uploaded now. So now we'll go back to here and we'll save this just in case we did it. And if you look on the left here, you will see my big C tutorial.html. So now BigCommerce is seeing this as a panel now. And if we go in here, we see my class and my div. So I'm going to do all the rest of the editing inside of BigCommerce. I'm going to give this a class, and I'm going to name this class NDX underscore. And remember, when you're creating a class or an ID, whatever your class name or your ID name is has to be identical to your call in your style. So if I did a capital N, I have to do a capital N in my style call. I'll show you more of that when we start creating our style for this div. And I'm going to call this NDX underscore tutorial. And now I have a class on that, and now I need to create an image. So I'm going to create an image, Now remember, an image terminates itself within its own tag, and this is just saying there's an image and the source. Now I have to give it the source where it's coming from, and I know it's coming from content slash ndximg slash, and then the name of my file, which is bigc_tutorials.png. So there is my div that's wrapping my image, and this will call my image. And I also want to make a link on this, so I want to make sure that I have a link. So the link tag is a href, that's the reference where we're calling it, equals, and I'm going to have to put the reference in, and we'll close this, and then we're going to have to terminate that a tag. So we'll terminate it, and I will separate the lines here so you can see this a little better of what I'm doing. So I have my div, and in my div it contains an a tag, and in my a tag it contains my image. And in my reference I'm going to put the link to our tutorials. So this is looking good, so I'm going to save this, and let's go take a look at what this did to our store. So we'll close out of this, and we'll refresh our page, and there is my image that I brought in, and there is my panel, and now I can put this panel anywhere I want on my page. So let's go take a look at another page within inside of this, and I'll go to one of my categories, and you notice that my new panel that I created is now gone. Let's take a look now at how we can reference this panel that we just created on any page in our site. So I'm in my category page right now, and I don't see my panel. So let's go back to our design mode and go to our default page, and let's grab our panel, and we'll copy this panel, and I also want it now on my category page. So we're going to go down here to see other templates, and we're going to look for our page in layouts, because this is our pages on our site, and we're going to look for our category page. I'm going to click here, and in my category page I want to put this in my left column also, so I can just put this right here, and if I save this, now it will be in my category page and my home page. So here's my category page, and there it is. So now what I want to do is I want to push this down a little bit, so I'm going to give it some style to bring it off of this section here. So I don't have a style for it yet, so when we hover over our new div, we're not going to see any style for it. So we have to create a style for ndx_tutorial, which we'll go ahead and do now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the style directly in this page, because we're not going to talk about creating styles outside yet. And if you are going to create an outside style sheet, I would create it and call it custom or something of your own name. This way, when they do updates on BigCommerce, it doesn't affect any of your new styles that you're creating. So I'm going to create a style tag, and I'm going to close it off with a closing style tag. And I'm going to call my class, which is this class here. So I can just copy this, and remember, it's a dot, your class, and then open curly braces, close curly braces, and now we can give it whatever style we want. So I want to give it a margin from the top, and just in case I ever want to create another panel, I'm also going to give it some margin on the bottom. So to do that, we're going to call margin. Now I can do margin top and give it a top margin, but I'm going to give it a margin all around. So I'm going to give it a margin on the top and bottom, and there's two ways you can write this now. You can write it with the top, I'm going to give it 10 pixels. To the right, I'm going to give it 0. To the bottom, I'm going to give it 10 pixels. And to the left, I'm going to give it 0. And then we're going to close this off, and that's it. Or I can just simply write this just like this, and this is going to do top and bottom and left and right. So we'll save this, And now we'll go look at our page and we'll notice that this moves down. That now got margin 10 pixels. And I'm also going to show you the style that we created. And we created this, and there's 10 pixels. And if we want, we can change this to 40 just to see what happens. And there you go. So now we're at 10 pixels, and we styled it. We gave it a link, and we uploaded an image to our FTP, and we created our first panel. Now let's see where this link goes. So this link is taking us to my YouTube channel where all my tutorials are. But let's say I don't want people to go to my YouTube channel and then lose my page. So I want them to stay on my page and also open up another link in my YouTube channel. So let's go create our A tag here and give it another element that says target equals, and we're going to do blank, and blank will take them to a new page with a new tab that opens up in our browser so we don't lose our site. And we'll refresh this and we'll click on this, and you notice that my new link opens up in a new tab, and I can click back to my store so we don't lose my store. So that's how you create a panel in BigCommerce. Hopefully this tutorial helped you. And if you'd like to see more tutorials, you can visit newdynamics.com/blog or youtube.com/newdynamics.